Hello everybody! In this video tutorial I'm gonna present you the skeletal animations editor that comes with SpriteHelper 2.0. If you want to see presentation on the other tools, you should see the other movies that are linked in the description. So without further ado, let's import the sprites needed to create the skeletal animation. So I have here a police officer. I have actually the parts of a police officer. So as you can see, I have each part in individual sprite. I'm gonna select this and drag them inside SpriteHelper. Let's close this folder, and it's already laid out. And let's go to Skeletal Animations Editor. So the first thing you need to do over here, now I'm not gonna create a vast animation over here. I'm just gonna demonstrate how to do it, and I'm gonna show you an example of a finished work, and you can download this example from the GitHub, and I will show you where in just a moment. So the first thing you will do, you will create a skeleton, and this will create an initial bone. But before creating the bone structure for the skeleton, let's lay out the sprite as they are needed. So I'm gonna drag this torso in, and I'm gonna place it over here. Let's take the head and drag it over here, something like that. Let's find the neck, it's here, and drag it somewhere like this. And if you look closely, the neck is on top of the head and on top of the torso. So to just put it behind it, you just drag it in the sprites list, and it's now behind everything. And let's drag the shoulder, put it over here, and I think this is the left shoulder. Yes, this is the left shoulder. It doesn't matter that it's on top of the torso. I will fix it in just a minute. I'm just trying to lay out sprites, and then we will sort the order as needed. Let's put the legs in. I think it should be like this. And drag everything as needed. Let's put the head eyes, as it's a little bit creepy without the eyes. You will understand in a moment why the eyes are not together with the head, and why they are separate, because we're gonna animate the eyes and we're gonna animate the mouth, and that's why we need them separated. And let's find the belt. This is the belt. Let's put it over here. Let's find the gun's holster, the gun, and forearm right. Now, as you can see, I have some issues with the alpha over here in these particular sprites. So the sprites images have to be fixed, but that's no issue. It's just a visual glitch that is not caused by SpriteHelper, but the wrong image file. Right, okay, something like that. Okay, and let's find the last arm, forearm. Okay, and let's find the right hand, and where is the hair? The hair is over here. And let's put it over here like that. And while it doesn't look yet good, it is placed pretty good. So let's drag this behind the pelvis and the torso and put them as needed. I think that should be it. Okay, let's disable the sprites outline so that we can see exactly what's going on over here. Let's put this after the torso, behind the torso, and this one also behind the torso. Okay, and the gun belt should be behind the torso, and this pelvis should be behind the torso. Okay, let's find a gun belt and actually put it on top, between the pelvis and the torso, and actually move it a little bit. I have the gun holster over here and I need the gun to be behind it, and put it over here. I need the arm to be behind the forearm, and everything else seems to be okay. Now the hair should be behind the hat. So let's move the hair up and put it actually on top of the head. And as you can see, things have started to look good. Everything is right as it should be, in the right place. And now let's create the bone structure. So to create a bone structure, you just drag from the root bone over here. Let's create another bone, and another bone, and another bone, and another bone. So basically, to create a bone, you just click on a bone and then drag to the new location where you want the new bone to end. And let's create new bones over here, and let's create a neck, and let's create a head. Okay, so we have now the bone structure and the sprites put in place, and when you are in create mode, when you drag on a bone, it will create another bone. So that's why we're gonna move to the edit mode, and when we're in edit mode, we will place the bones exactly as needed, because maybe when you created a bone, or maybe you need some adjustment, and we need to place the bones in a better position to simulate better. And when we are in animate mode, if we drag a bone, the bone will be animated and simulated. So we don't actually need to do this right now, because as you see, nothing happens because the bones are not connected to the sprites. So let's go back to edit mode and place the bones back where they should have been, because I moved them just to demonstrate what animate mode does. And now let's connect the sprites to the bones. So in order to do that, you just select a bone, go here to no sprites connected, go to this connection button, and drag the sprites the connection over the sprite. Let's select the other bone, drag this, select another bone, connect to the corresponding sprite, and you do that until you select all the bones in all the sprites in in your skeleton. And obviously you can connect multiple sprites to a bone. So right now I have the torso selected, and I'm gonna connect all the sprites that needs to move with the torso bone. And okay, I need the gun belt, and I think that's it. Let's select this. You can also have bones without any sprites connected, because sometimes, like this bone over here and this bone over here, they will just be there to simulate the skeleton better, but they will not be connected to any sprites. And let's connect the right arms. Let's connect the neck. And let's connect the head and the eyes and the mouth, the hair, and the head. When you make a bone rigid, and that's what I will do for these two bones over here and for the bones over here, I will demonstrate in just a second when I will animate what that does. Basically, the bone will not move. So now if I am to move, as you can see, the sprite moves accordingly with the bone. And because this bone is rigid, it doesn't go with the other sprites. And we have multiple ways of moving the bones. We can drag and simulate all nodes. So if it were for this bone to not be rigid, all the body will go with when I drag with this. As it happens right now, if I drag this bone, all the hand is moving, and drag simulates only children. So for example, now I drag, it doesn't do anything. Now I drag, it only simulates the children, and the children of this bone is only the bone from here. And now I drag this and simulates all the children in the hierarchy. And you can of course rename the bones to better signify what it represents. And you can move all bones, so you can do stuff like this in order to place your bone, your skeleton structure better. And you can choose to hide the bones, the sprite's outline, or the sprite selection, and anything stuff like that. And you can also save a pose. Let's give it default pose. And if, for example, you are to animate, sorry, I'm going to go to juggle modes, and let's, for example, you animated in a certain position that is not really what you need, and you need to go to a pose. You just go to the available pose and you load the pose that you need. And that's how simple it is to create a skeleton structure and to move it around. But let's now create an animation. So I'm going to create an animation from the animation section by just clicking on the plus button, and you can rename an animation by just double clicking it and give it a name. So I'm going to call it my animation. And now I'm going to explain to you all the animation properties from here, because each properties creates different result in an animation. So I'm going to start with the bone position, and the first thing you want to do is that you set your position in the skeleton exactly as you want when you start your animation. And let's set an initial position. This is the position I want my animation to start with. And then I'm gonna move my skeleton in the new position I want, and I'm gonna set a new frame. Now it is very important that when you set a frame, the skeleton is exactly in the position you want. So the time slider doesn't matter where it is, but when you set that frame, you make sure that the skeleton and everything in it, the sprites, rotation, visibility, and everything is exactly as you want. Okay, so now that I have this simple animation of moving hand, let me try to show you the Z order property. So that's how simple it is to move a skeleton, and I'm gonna extend this animation a little bit further when I explain all the other properties. And let me tell you about the sprite Z order. What this control is basically the order on which the sprites are rendered. So let's say I want at some point the gun to be in front of everything, or in front of the gun holster. So I'm gonna save my gun position, actually all the sprites order over here. I'm gonna set an initial frame, and at some point, let's say at this point, I want the gun to be on top of everything, to be visible and not hidden by the gun holster. So I'm just gonna take the gun from the sprites list from here, from the skeleton, going to sprites and take the gun, and I'm gonna move it on top of the gun holster. And as you can see right here, now the gun is on top of the gun holster, and I'm gonna save this frame. And now if I animate, the gun is under the holster, actually in the holster, and then when I reach this frame, the gun will be on top of the holster. And if you look here, you can also see this happening visually, and you will know exactly what's going on. And now I'm gonna show you the sprites bones connections. And when it comes to sprites bones connection over here, you can control each sprite. So let's move to and set an initial frame. This will tell, okay, these sprites are exactly connected exactly as I want. And let's make it so that at some point the head is connected with the hand. So I'm gonna set a new frame over here, and I'm gonna do something like this. And at this point I want this frame, and you see how the head is moving with the head. Okay, and at this point, well, you can control each sprite over here by just placing a frame on the sprites section, but I'm gonna control everything for easier, because it's easier and I don't need this kind of control right now. And at this point I want my head to be controlled by the hand. So I'm gonna select the hand bone, and as you can see, the hand bone is connected with the hand outline sprite. And now I'm gonna drag a new connection from here. I'm gonna go over the head, and I'm gonna connect it, and now the head is connected with this bone. And I'm gonna save this in the bones connection, and I'm gonna set a new frame. And now I'm gonna move the hand, and as you will see, the head is now moving with the hand. And that's how easy it is to connect change connection between sprites. And let me create a new frame here for the positions. And now if I animate, you see that until this point, the head is moving with the hand, sorry, and now the head is moving with the hand. Okay, so now you know how to do bones connections and change them and animate them. Let's talk about sprite visibility. Let's imagine that at certain point I want the head to become invisible. Okay, this is not this is just for demonstration purposes. So let's set an initial frame here to say the animation. I want this to be exactly as it is right now. And let's say that after this point I want the head to become invisible. And I'm gonna find in the sprites list the head, or you have another way. You can hold the option key. While in animate mode you can only select bones, but if you hold the option key you can also select sprites. And now I've selected the head, and I'm gonna make it invisible, and I'm gonna set a new frame over here. And you will see now that from here to here, the head will be visible, and once I reach this frame, the head will become invisible. And let's make it visible again. Set a new frame, and from here to here, the head will be invisible, and from there it will be visible again. So as you see, the head invisible, visible, and that's how easy it is to control sprites visibility. And I'm going to show you a real world example of all of these properties really soon. And let's now talk about sprite skinning. What this does, it lets you change a sprite representation on an animation in real time. So let's say that at this point I want to save this as the initial frame because it looks exactly as I want. Let's say that at this point I want to my character to close its eyes. So I'm gonna find the eyes, and then I'm gonna go over here and drag this to the eyes close sprite from here. Now the eyes are closed. I'm gonna save a new frame. I'm gonna move my animation to a new position, and I want from this point the eyes to be angry. So let's drag this, go to eyes angry, and save a new frame. And if I animate, from here to here the eyes will be open, from here to here the eyes will be closed, and from here on the eyes will be angry. So if I animate, eyes are open normally, eyes are closed, and eyes are angry. And of course the hat is becoming invisible, and then it appears again. I'm going to present now the sprites transformation section. So you have to know that bone position and sprite transformation are done by interpolation. So the interpolation is done from this position to this position, and the same thing happens with sprite transformation. And you have to be careful when you're using this section, because while sprite is connected to a bone, it is controlled by the bone. So if you also add a transformation, you may have strange results. So to demonstrate this, I'm gonna try to transform the head. So I'm just gonna go over here, and I'm gonna, at this point when the animation it's let's say finishes, I'm gonna remove the bone, the head from the bone, so it will no longer be connected. So I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna add a frame from for sprite bones connection over here. Yeah, and I'm gonna add a sprite transformation over here to save this position of the head. And then I'm gonna move further down in the animation. Maybe it's not the best solution, as I no longer have a time and the sprite is invisible. So I'm just gonna remove these frames by right clicking on them and remove them, and I'm gonna make the animation a little bit longer by 3 seconds. And at this position here, I'm gonna remove the bone connection. Let's say here I'm gonna remove the bone connection for the head, which is already removed. Yeah, over here I remove it. Okay, and then I'm gonna save this position over here for the head, and I'm gonna move further down in the animation. I'm gonna hold the Option key, select the head, rotate it, and I'm gonna add a new frame over here. And now if I am to play this, everything will play just nicely. And I promised you guys a real world example. So I'm gonna load another scene now. And I'm gonna load this scene that is available on GitHub. So you should go and download the GitHub project, and you will see exactly what you can do with skeletal animation and all the other stuff. And I'm gonna show you a compilation of that in just a moment. So I'm just gonna go to the skeletal animation editor over here. I'm gonna select the officer, and I have here all these nice animations. And you may also have noticed that I have multiple documents open now. So yes, this is also possible in SpriteHelper 2.0, as in previous version it was not possible. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna play the hat wave animation, which will demonstrate the connection. And this demonstrates the connection between by changing the connection of sprites with bones. And this plays really nice. And I'm gonna go to push animation. This is another animation that demonstrates the movement. And strong walk, which also plays nice, and you have it looping over here. Ball play, and this demonstrates the sprite transformation. Look at how many frames are in here and how the bone is transforming. So you can also transform the rotation and the position of the sprite, and at some point the ball is connected with the hand. And as you can see over here, let's play a little bit slower. The hand is changing its frame. You've seen here from this frame to this frame, and then when the ball comes back it changes again to its frame, and that demonstrates the sprite skin property. And I have another animation over here, which is the death animation, and you will see here that the eyes change their skin with eyes closed, and that plays really nice. And I have an idle animation over here, just something that the character is moving around. And I have a shoot animation, which demonstrates the sprite's visibility over here on the gun flame, and the flame becomes and hides. And I'm gonna go to the holster gun, which plays using a ping pong option, and this demonstrates how you can uh, move the Z order of the sprite, and how you can change the bone connection. And let's go to soft walk, which it's just a bone position demonstration, and the bow. And what this does demonstrate is the Z order of the sprites. Let's look at this hand over here. So at this point the hand is in front of the torso, and if we go a little bit further, now you see at this point the hand is behind the torso, in front of the torso, and then goes back to being behind the torso and the leg. And you can do some amazing stuff using all these properties, and I think you will create some amazing games, and I look forward to seeing them. So now let's go into Xcode and open the GitHub project so that you can have a little bit of preview. And when you open this project, you will have all these nice test cases over here, and you can play them and see what else you can do with animation. And I'm gonna just show you this little effect that you can do with skeletons also, that I didn't present, but you can create your skeleton, and then you can do some amazing effects. I'm just waiting for the simulator to start, like this one over here. So I'm just dragging my snake around, and you can have some amazing effects resulting using the bone animation. And this one has the debug drawing enabled, so you can disable that, and you can create some really amazing effects. And you can also change the animation time, and I'm gonna show that also if I find the test case. And in this example, the animation plays at normal speed, and then if I press on the left side, the animation will play faster. or if I press on the right side, the animation will play slower. And you can do some really nice things, so make sure you check the documentation. While I show this for using Xcode, all these properties and everything I've shown will be available to all the engines. Before I go and leave you guys, I'm gonna show you two other things regarding skeleton animation. Let's imagine you want to create an animation. Let's move to the other scene over here. Um, let's imagine you want to create an animation, but you're not really a very good animator like myself. So I've created all these animations here having um, an example to follow. So what you can do is go to this background option and choose an image, and you can go to get a animated GIF of the internet, and you can use that to help you with your animation. So I found some amazing GIFs on the internet, and you can just search on Google and you'll find some also, and you can load your GIF animation. And yeah, this only has one, and it's not a good example, so let me find some other, maybe this one. Yep. And the GIF animation will be each frame in the animation will be uh, extracted, and you can then just change. You can place your background as you need. And make sure you it helps you in the creation of your animation. Then you can change the frame one by one, or you can just select which frame you want, and you can choose other image or remove them, and stuff like that. And this will help you in animating what you want, because not everybody is an animator, and you may need some help, and SpriteHelper is here to help you. And one other thing you can do, you can export each frame in the animation of the skeleton animation to a PNG file. So I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna select export skeletal animation as skeletal animation frames as PNGs, and I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna create a new folder over here. Let's call it exported, and let's open this frame from here, and let's select this folder, and you can select how many frames per second you want to use for the export, and press export button. And in just a second, all the frames in the animation will be created depending how long the animation is and how many frames per second you want. It may take longer or shorter. So because I use 30 frames per second, I have a lot of frames over here, but you can see how the animation I've created is changing frame by frame, and you can use this to create sprite sheet animations from skeletal animations if needed, or just maybe you need them for something else. So this is a skeletal animation editor tool that comes with SpriteHelper 2.0. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.